It's not very often we get the chance to review something genuinely new and innovative in the sim racing world, but innovation is exactly what Simagic have set out to achieve with their new P1000 modular pedals. Have they hit the mark? Let's find out. G'day, I'm Neil from Player One Sim Gear. With the P1000 modular pedals, Simagic have very clearly set out to achieve something that isn't readily available in the market today. That is a mid to high-end pedal set that is incredibly modular and highly customizable so that you can set them up exactly how you want them to look and feel at the same time. So what does that look like? Well, in real terms, what we end up with is a very well-built modular pedal design that is designed to be interchangeable to fit with your specific use case on your rig. And that's in terms of how you mount them on the rig, in terms of how they feel and how you interact with your rig itself and how they influence your driving, right the way through to how they look and how they affect the overall aura of the room you're in. Now, that's a big ask for a set of pedals, I know, and so Simagic have gone about doing it in really three very clear ways. They've gone about with the look, the feel, and the orientation. All right, so let's start off with the orientation. Well, that one's really easy. Essentially, this set of pedals can really simply be customized to either the P1000 sort of mode you have here or the P1000i mode. And the way they do that is that this pedal plate here disconnects. This front part comes off completely, and you can see in the graphic here how that works. There's two very simple bolts with 4 bolts with 2 bars that hold it on. The idea being that you can keep this part and you can attach the inverted bracket which fits up here, and then essentially this back half of the pedals flips around upside down and becomes inverted. It's a really seamless and easy way to have a pedal set that works both in their normal formation and in the inverted formation, really simply without any fuss. So that's a huge plus right there. You can customize how you want to mount them on your rig without any messing around. The second area where Simagic have gone into real detail is in terms of the look. So clearly to start with, let's look at the pedals themselves. They're just the epitome of quality, I guess is the best way to say it. Simagic have for years been doing an amazing job, and the reason I run Simagic gear voluntarily, I'm not sponsored by them or anything like that, but I run the gear on my everyday rig at home is simply because of the way it feels. It is just, there's a weightiness and a build quality to the components, to the materials they use, to the way everything's put together. Everything's just beautifully well finished. You can tell that all the components are really well machined, the electronics are reliable, and all of the mechanisms involved just fit together beautifully. The P1000s are no exception to that rule. This is a beautiful set of pedals to look at. You can see here on the desk, they look great. In terms of when you dive down into it, there's no rough edges, everything's smooth, everything's machined, everything fits together perfectly. And I can't speak again highly enough of how great a job Simagic do on all of their hardware, and how much they've done the same thing on these P1000s. And just having a look at them, you can see they're a beautiful set of pedals. The next thing they've done is they've incorporated a power pack into the pedals, which allows you to run the different modules. And there's 2 lighting modules, and then there's 3 or up to 3 haptic modules which fit on them as well. But let's focus on the look, the 2 lighting modules. They're called Sim Ray lighting modules. And the first component is this one here, which is the PSRH, which stands for Sim Ray heel module. And this replaces the heel stop right here along the front of the pedals. You can see this heel stop just clips on in its place, and then this lights up and can be, and the lighting can be aligned through telemetry in the Sim Pro app, which we'll get to in a little bit. The next variant, which I don't actually have here, but I'll show you some pictures of it, is the Sim Ray, the PSRB, which is the Sim Ray bar. And it fits underneath the pedals and provides ambient lighting into your room. I mean, I guess the heel also provides ambient lighting that's certainly in your line of view if you're, depending on, I guess, on how your pedal's mounted and your wheel and so on. But the purpose of the bar is to provide ambient lighting around your rig. Looks great for anyone watching you race. It's going to look really cool at night in a setup. It's also going to look pretty cool in terms of if you're a streamer, it's going to look great on film as well. Again, and it reacts to telemetry inputs and outputs from the software as well. Both the PSRH and the PSRB are powered by the power pack, which you can see mounted under the pedals here. So if we take a look, you can see there's a simple power box mounted on, and you can just plug in the different modules that you're using. Again, really simple, really easy to do. It can power all 3 haptic pedal reactors and the 2 lighting bars just off the one power pack, so nice and easy. So that's the look side of it covered. As you can see, you've got the fantastic looking pedals themselves, which they're a work of art, they look amazing. And then you've got the ability to customize the ambient lighting effects coming through the SimPro software via either the light up heel stop or the light up bar that goes underneath. So now we move to the all-important feel, because this is, I think, what's really going to stand these pedals apart and attract everybody's attention when they see them on the website and in advertising. It's these things on the back of them. And these are the Haptic Pedal Reactors. These are individual components which clip on. You can see they wire through the pedals. They mount on the back here, they wire through, and they plug straight in to the surface on top of the board there itself, which is then wired through underneath into the power pack we spoke about. The Haptic Pedal Reactors at the moment interact across up to 3 different telemetry options. So there is traction control kicking in, there is ABS kicking in, and then there's a clutch setting as well. So how do they work, and what's the purpose of them in game? Look, one of the key aspects of this is that you can heavily customize just how much they give to you back through the game. So you can adjust the frequency and you can adjust the intensity of the reactions coming from them. That's important because you want to get them feeling natural and not overly clunky or overly, I guess, vibrating too much for you. I initially got a little less out of them than I expected. And one of the main reasons is I typically race V8s in iRacing and I don't have any assists on. And so I wasn't getting any reaction from them at all, because at the moment, in order for them to work, you need a car that either naturally has ABS or traction control and is providing that output through the software back obviously into the Haptic Pedal Reactors, or you need to have those driving assists turned on. It'll also recognize, for example, in iRacing, if you turn on ABS or you turn on traction control, then you will get the feedback markers coming through. When I did, it was great. It was really noticeable when I turned them on, but I don't normally drive with them. So for me, the value was initially pretty limited. Now, if you're a GT3 driver, for example, you're going to get the benefit right off the bat, because obviously those cars have those additional features enabled by default. So you're naturally going to start to feel these systems coming through. And indeed, when I jumped into a GT3 car and did some test laps, it was great. It was really noticeable. It took a little bit of dialing in. So what I wanted to do for myself was I lowered the frequency. I didn't want it to be like a really jarring effect. I wanted it to be quite simple, easy to feel, and to know that I was getting, I guess, a natural feel through the pedals of what it might be like when ABS kicked in or when traction control was kicking in. What I'd like to see, and I think where it'll become even more valuable, is as Simagic start to add to the different telemetry options in the SimPro software that are going to be able to provide feedback through the Haptic Pedal Reactors. I reached out to Simagic and I asked them the question, are there additional telemetry inputs on the way? And they said absolutely yes. This is an early iteration in terms of the interaction of the hardware back into the SimPro software, and they absolutely intend to increase the level of telemetry parameters that are kicking feedback back into them. And I think that's going to be key, because the ones I want to feel are rumble strips. I want to feel engine vibration. I want to feel everything that you typically maybe set up if you were running, say, a butt kicker using SimHub. If you set that up underneath your pedals, which I know as a lot of people do, that's the kind of interaction that I'm looking for from these Haptic Pedal Reactors. And they'll certainly get there, but at the moment, it's not quite there. In terms of recommending the Haptic Pedal Reactors, I would say it depends what kind of car you drive, what kind of sim you're driving, and it also depends on whether you want to go for all 3. So at the moment, there's very little benefit for the one on the clutch. I don't use a clutch very much anyway, and if I did, I think the inputs coming from it are pretty limited at the moment. So I personally, if I was going to recommend which ones to grab, I would lose the clutch one. I think you only need 2 Haptic Pedal Reactors. I would go for the brake and the accelerator. The accelerator one is much more limited at the moment. Certainly, that's when I had it set up so that when traction control was kicking in, I could feel it on the accelerator, and then of course on the braking for ABS. The ABS braking one's great. It's really well worth having. The throttle one I think will be much better as they start to add more telemetry options. When I said when you can start to feel like road textures, when you can feel curbs and rumbles, when you can feel a loss of traction, for example, your wheels locking up, juddering through the pedal, all of those things I think will add a real sense of immersion and value to this. It'll actually help make me faster and a more consistent driver, whereas at the moment it was a nice immersion factor, but I don't think it was adding anything for me in terms of speed. Again, particularly because, and I'm talking about when I'm in GT3s, when I was driving V8s, it wasn't a factor at all. Okay, and then last but not least is the adjustability of the pedals. So these pedals can be adjusted in a number of ways. And you can see here, really easy to flex the pedals. There's a couple of different Allen keys at the top. You can adjust the angle that the pedals sit at. You can adjust the throw of the pedals. You can adjust the range, how much travel each pedal has. You can adjust the springs, or indeed, we'll get to the brake in a minute, but you can adjust the springs on both the clutch and on the throttle as well to control the level of resistance you're getting. Overall, the throttle feel was really good. I like a lot of travel and I like kind of a soft throttle, so for me it was perfect out of the box. There is a stiffer spring option that you can get, which is going to stiffen this up, and again that comes in the box as well. So that's great, you've got options right off the bat there to allow you to really set them up. When it comes to the brake pedal, so the brake uses a series of small rubber pads, which is a little bit different from, say, the traditional like elastomer, hard elastomer and spring model that you see in some other pedals. And a great feature of the brake on the P1000s is that it includes both a Hall sensor as well as a traditional load cell sensor. Hall sensors measure the travel of the brake pedal as opposed to load cells measuring the force against the sensor itself. We usually see Hall sensors used in street cars, so if you're looking for that vibe, you can really easily switch over how the brake is measured in the SimPro software and choose between either a load cell or Hall sensor. And watch this space, there is also a hydraulic pedal option for the P1000s that's coming out shortly. But as it stands at the moment, the ability to swap out the rubber rings inside the tube for the brake is really good. It's simple, it's effective. You can see here some recommended settings. Look, I like kind of a bit more travel and a little bit of a softer one. So I went for one of the sort of GT3 settings on this. But again, I played around with it. I don't think I've had enough chance to test it to see really where I would land in terms of my brake setup. But traditionally I'll have a brake that's got a couple of springs in front and then a harder elastomer, so I get a bit more travel followed by kind of a hard resistance point towards the end. On the physical side, one thing I will say is these are not a large set of pedals, they're quite narrow. So if I pull out my trusty tape measure, you can see the actual pedal bar, the pedal plate itself comes in at 34 centimeters across. So 34 centimeters is kind of the maximum spread that you're going to get on your pedals. And in fact, these ones are set a little bit inwards on each side. There is an additional mounting point where I can go maybe 1 centimeter wider, another 10 mil wider. So in terms of the overall spread we've got here, we've got around 27 or so, maybe 26.5 centimeters from one side of the pedals to the other. Interestingly though, what you can't do is adjust the mounting of the pedal plate. So you don't have an additional set of holes on each side here to be able to move the pedal plates slightly out relative to the pedals themselves. So I think, I've got a size 10.5 to 11 shoe, I guess, which I race in. I don't race in any particular like racing boots. I do wear shoes, I don't race in socks. And I found these to actually be pretty comfortable. So this is much narrower than I have my existing pedals on my rig. So I race with V&Ms at the moment. I tend to have them quite a bit wider just because I race with the 2 pedal set. So I've got plenty of real estate, I guess. So I have the pedals pretty well spaced. When I first put this on, I thought, these are uncomfortably close. It lasted one race and then I didn't notice. Naturally you sort of brake, you accelerate kind of with slightly off center, I guess, in terms of, well, I'm not actually accelerating with the clutch. Normally you accelerate slightly off center with your foot. Anyway, on this side, there was more than enough room. Obviously it's a nice wide brake pedal. And like I said, I don't actually use the clutch anyway. So if I was gonna be using this set on my daily rig, which it's going to be going onto my daily rig tomorrow, what I'll be doing is actually taking off the clutch pedal because it's just redundant for me, and then there's plenty of space for me to run this in a 2 pedal configuration. If I did want to run it, if I do keep the clutch on there, which I might do just to see if I get some more use out of it, I think it's still really comfortable and easy to use, and I'm not worried about accidentally triggering the clutch with the brake, and certainly not with the throttle. Alright, so final thoughts on the Simagic P1000 pedals. These things are a fantastic entry in the mid to high end pedal market. Simagic absolutely hit the mark in terms of bringing innovation into the market in the way in which this pedal set is so modular and so adaptable. You can set this up really to suit whatever driving style you have. You can adjust the look and the feel and the way it interacts with your rig in a way that's just not easily achieved in the market, and certainly not at this price point. There are other products out there, of course. There are products, shakers on the pedals isn't anything new. Fanatec have obviously been doing it in the past. There's additional modules in the third-party products that you can buy to fit on the back of pedals at the moment. Obviously, Butt Kicker provide haptic feedback, and mounting them underneath pedal plates has been done for years. But what Simagic are doing here is they're making it really easily accessible for people who perhaps don't want to do that level of tinkering or that level of customization. They want something that out of the box It's going to provide them another layer of immersion and feedback and another sense or tactile feel of being connected into the vehicle that they're driving through their rig. And that is exactly what the P1000s do now, and it's what they're only going to continue to do as we see more telemetry feeds coming through in the software. These pedals are beautifully built. They look spectacular. They're a real showpiece. I think they look amazing. They look fantastic in the inverted mode as well, and obviously they work that way, which is great. And again, really simple and easy out of the box to do that. Configuring them is just a few Allen keys, really easy to do. You can adjust the height, the throw, the travel, every part of the pedal in terms of how they sit and how they feel can be set up to be exactly what you're looking for on your rig. So if you are looking for a mid to high-end new set of pedals for your rig, you're looking for something that brings a little bit of a unique feel and looks the absolute business on your rig, then I thoroughly recommend the Simagic P1000s. I think they've done a great job bringing these to market, and I can't wait to see the way that they develop and continue to develop this little pedal ecosystem with the addition of the new hydraulic system for the brake that's going to come out as a modular add-on as well. And I'd love to see where the telemetry goes and what else they're able to bring to market to add on to this great little pedal ecosystem. Thank you once again for checking out another one of our videos. Please do all the like and subscribe stuff. If you're still here watching this, we thoroughly appreciate it. It means the world to us. Let us know in the comments what pedals you're using today, whether you think you'll look at upgrading, and what it is that you like about what Simagic have done here, and we will see you next time. Thank you.